My name is Emily, and I'm 42 years old. Today, I'm out in the city shopping and taking a walk with my boyfriend. As we're walking to our destination store, laughing together, someone calls out from behind. I turn around, and there he is, my ex-husband Mike, whom I divorced 2 years ago. Mike.
Long time no see. Has it been since the divorce?
Mike approaches casually and looks me up and down. Then his gaze shifts to the man standing next to me.
Who's this?
Shouldn't he introduce himself first? Thinking this, I glare at Mike. Then, my boyfriend introduces himself.
I'm James Smith, Emily's boyfriend.
Nice to meet you. I'm Mike Anderson, Emily's ex-husband. Wow, what a polite young man you've got here.
Mike stared rudely at James as well. Then, suddenly, he turned back to me and burst out laughing.
How can you date such an old lady?
What?
Anyone who sees you two would wonder what your relationship is. You look so mismatched.
I felt my face burning with embarrassment. Sure, he's 9 years younger than me at 33. And here I am, in my 40s. Suddenly, I started worrying that people might see us that way.
Isn't that rude?
James replied to Mike in a calm voice.
Sorry if I offended you, but a wife should always be young.
Sure, I'm younger than Emily. But there's something you don't know.
Mike looked puzzled.
Don't know what?
James replied with a cool demeanor. Mike clearly didn't like his calm expression.
Yeah, there's something you don't know, Mike.
What are you talking about? I'm happy. Look at my family.
Mike, without being asked, pulled out his phone from his pocket and showed us a picture. In it was the woman he had an affair with 2 years ago, the one who took my husband from me. She was sitting with a child on her lap, smiling happily.
Having a kid is a lot of work every day, but it's fulfilling. I never thought working for my kid would be so much fun.
I froze when I saw the picture. Memories I'd tried to forget came rushing back. 2 years ago, Mike suddenly brought a woman named Linda home and said,
She's pregnant. Sorry, but I need you to divorce me.
It was our wedding anniversary, and I had cooked all of Mike's favorite dishes. Next to him, the woman, Linda, was rubbing her belly and looking at me triumphantly. What? What do you mean? Have you been cheating on me?
Wow, you never noticed? You're so dense.
Linda looked like she was still in her 20s. Where did you meet her?
What's it to you?
How old are you?
I'm 28.
28.
Surprised? She's way younger than you.
I can't believe this is happening.
I hate to add to your confusion, but can you sign the divorce papers right now?
Mike took out a paper from his bag and placed it in front of me. You can't expect me to just sign this on the spot.
I'll give you 3 days. Get it signed by then. I'll come back to pick it up in 3 days.
What am I supposed to do? This is outrageous. No matter how much I pleaded, Mike wouldn't listen. After saying everything they wanted, Mike and Linda left the house. All that was left was me and the divorce papers. I didn't want to think about anything anymore, so I decided to do as Mike said. and that's how we got divorced.
So, how have you been?
Mike's voice snapped me back to reality. James looked at me with concern as I stared at the picture Mike had shown me. What do you mean?
Your life now. I bet nothing much has changed since the divorce, right? Oh, but at least you've got a boyfriend now.
How can you say my last 2 years were a waste when I haven't even told you anything?
You were looking at my picture with such jealousy. Your face was pretty scary.
I just felt sick seeing the face of the woman you cheated with again.
Don't call her my mistress. She's my wife now.
Mike pouted in protest. Then he started bragging about his wonderful life.
Kids grow up so fast. It feels like just yesterday she was born, and now she's already calling me dad.
James and I listened silently as Mike tried to show off his happiness.
When I think about protecting this smile, it really motivates me at work. I even got a promotion after our divorce.
Mike looked down on me as if blaming me for not being able to have kids and hold him back from his promotion.
I'm living a successful life, but what about you? You're so boring and unremarkable. Our marriage was incredibly dull.
Dull?
Yeah, you took care of the house, but that's it. I never felt motivated to work hard because of you.
Mike crossed his arms and looked up as if reminiscing about the past. I didn't want James to hear this.
And while we didn't have kids, I became a father after remarrying. You never became a parent. There's a different vibe between people who have kids and those who don't. People with kids seem more grounded.
Are you saying I'm unreliable because I didn't have kids?
That's not what I meant, but you should be careful.
Mike suddenly turned to James, placing a hand on his shoulder.
Emily can't have kids. Even if you marry her, you won't have children.
What?
Hey,
You haven't told him, have you? James, don't rush into this. You're being deceived.
Mike spoke to him as if he were a child.
Emily can't have kids.
Mike smirked as he saw James mumble this. How could he bring up something as sensitive as infertility so lightly? He's the worst.
If you want a happy family like mine, don't marry her.
James stared intently at Mike. This is the worst. Having such an ex-husband is definitely a deal breaker. I was anxiously thinking to myself. Then James brushed Mike's hand off his shoulder and said,
Marrying a younger woman doesn't guarantee happiness, you know.
What? You're still saying that?
I'll keep saying it. Mike, I heard your wife left you and took the kid.
What? I couldn't help but gasp. I quickly looked at Mike, who was staring at James with his mouth open.
What are you talking about?
Judging by his panicked reaction, it seemed to be true.
You can't pretend you don't know. You were just bragging about your family earlier.
I showed you pictures of my wife and kid.
Yes, I saw. But when were those pictures taken? At least 3 months ago, right?
3 months?
Your wife left you 3 months ago, didn't she?
What? How do you know that?
I was completely confused. How did James know all this?
Actually, my family runs a store and Linda works for us.
What?
What?
Linda used to work for us but left when she got pregnant and married you.
I never imagined they were connected in such a way. It's a small town, so it's not surprising that such things happen.
But 3 months ago, Linda came back asking for her job. She said she found out her husband was cheating and they were getting divorced.
Cheating? Mike, you cheated again? You never learn.
Shut up. It's none of your business.
Mike scratched his head, looking embarrassed. I couldn't help but speak up.
Stop running your mouth.
When you showed the family picture, I was really surprised. There she was, our employee. I never imagined she was the one who had an affair with you and kicked Emily out.
James put his hand on my shoulder and glared at Mike. Mike stepped back a bit, like a frog stared down by a snake.
Kicked her out is an exaggeration.
Telling her to sign the divorce papers within 3 days is basically kicking her out.
You went around blabbing about that to others?
It's natural to talk about yourself to the person you're dating, especially the reason for the divorce.
Anyway, I couldn't believe Linda did something like that. She was well regarded by the other employees and took good care of her colleagues. Hearing that she had an affair and broke up a family was shocking.
I recalled her behavior from 2 years ago. She didn't strike me as a well-regarded woman, but she must have been professional at work.
She said she left because her husband was cheating and they were about to get divorced.
That's just what she's saying. I'm not getting divorced. I've been trying to convince her to stay.
But she seemed pretty determined.
I don't get why she's so mad. She cheated on her husband to marry me in the first place.
Mike looked up at the sky as if in exasperation, and I was overwhelmed by all this new information. Then Mike suddenly said,
Wait, if she worked at your store before, then your family.
Yes, my family owns a French pastry shop. My father is the current owner, but I'm set to take over in a few years.
James' family owns a French pastry shop that's been around for over 80 years. It's famous in the city.
I thought you seemed like a rich kid, and you really are one.
Mike once again rudely scrutinized James.
Being called a rich kid at 33 is embarrassing. I wish I looked more mature.
James blushed, and Mike spat out.
That's such a rich kid response.
Thank you.
I wasn't complimenting you.
James doesn't get sarcasm. James's calm demeanor seemed to annoy Mike even more.
I can't believe a catch like you is dating an old lady like you. Are you blackmailing him or something?
That's rude. I'm not blackmailing anyone.
Yeah, if anything, she's got my heart.
What?
Huh?
Was that not funny?
Maybe not the best timing. When I said that, James looked a bit dejected. I couldn't help but find this side of him adorable. He hates being called cute, though.
You two are such a lovey-dovey couple. So, how did you two meet? Emily never liked French pastries.
Hearing this made me sad. I do like them. In fact, I prefer them to American sweets.
Really? But you always brought home cream puffs or cakes or other American sweets.
That's because you used to say you preferred American sweets to French ones.
That's definitely true. But did I really say that?
You did. You even said you didn't like the texture of French pastries, so I always bought cakes and stuff.
I didn't know.
So after we divorced, I decided to indulge myself without any reservations. Around that time, there was a French pastry fair at the department store. That's when I first went to James's shop.
I remember you at the time, Emily. You had the sparkle in your eyes while picking out sweets. In the end, you couldn't choose and bought every type of macaron.
You have a good memory.
Of course. It's rare for someone to buy every single type.
James laughed, and I felt my face getting hot. I cleared my throat and continued. Since I liked the sweets so much, I decided to visit the main store. James served me there too, and after a few visits,
I was the one who asked her out.
You asked her?
Mike looked genuinely surprised.
Yes. I was really happy to hear her say how delicious the sweets were. I was in a bit of a slump at the time. But Emily's words saved me.
You never told me that. You were in a slump?
Yeah. I was struggling to come up with ideas for new summer sweets. Then we started talking about the fireworks festival, and you said it would be wonderful to capture the moment the fireworks went off.
I suddenly realized. Could it be that sweet?
Yes. I made it based on your advice.
I remembered the sweet with the fireworks design on the surface and felt my face heating up again.
Emily saved me. And I fell for her seeing how excited she got picking out sweets.
James said this seriously, without a hint of joking, and Mike looked taken aback. But he still tried to find a flaw in us.
But surely a traditional shop like yours needs an heir, right? She can't possibly.
He wanted to point out my infertility.
That's not a problem.
What?
I already have a child.
Really?
James nodded.
Actually, I'm divorced too. I have a son from my previous marriage. My ex-wife left after cheating on me and abandoned our son. Quite the opposite of your situation.
Wow, so you two are perfect for each other as fellow victims of cheating.
Mike laughed awkwardly.
My son is very fond of Emily and already calls her mom.
That's right. He's adorable.
Are you forcing him to call you that?
Of course not.
So, do his parents approve?
I don't know what you mean by approve.
I mean, don't you think his parents would be upset about their precious son dating an older woman who's been divorced? Those traditional families care about appearances.
There's no problem. In fact, they've welcomed me warmly. Almost too warmly, to be honest.
Really?
Mike looked at me with a sleazy smile, clearly doubting me. As I was about to look away, unable to bear his gaze, James stepped in.
My parents also have a 10-year age difference, with my mother being older. Do you think they'd care about our 9-year difference?
Your parents are like that?
Yes. They really like Emily. They say she's bright, polite, and very considerate. They believe she'll be a wonderful young proprietress and eventually the main proprietress.
James. I felt incredibly fortunate to hear such kind words about me behind my back. James' parents are a well-balanced couple. His mother manages the store so his father can focus on making sweets. They have clearly defined roles. After work, they enjoy drinks together, making them an adorable couple to watch.
So, there's no issue with my parents.
But there's still the issue with your son. Normally, kids don't take well to stepmothers.
I already told you, my son is very fond of Emily.
Maybe he's just trying to please you. Kids can be more mature than we think.
I don't think my son is pretending. Once, when I had an urgent matter and couldn't go with them, Emily and my son went out together. He said he had a great time.
Did you bribe him or something? That's dirty.
I did buy him ice cream, but that's about it. I think it's worse if a father's girlfriend wouldn't even do that.
My son.
James interjected.
My son came back saying he wished Emily could be his real mom. His biological mother was often out partying and wasn't home much.
So, he'd be fine with anyone kind, not just Emily.
James shook his head.
No, my son didn't take to the woman I dated before Emily.
I'd heard that story before. I was really nervous when I first met the son. I was worried he'd reject me. He didn't, but he wouldn't look me in the eye either. I remembered that day, introducing myself while he hid behind James.
But Emily kept talking to him every time she visited. Most people give up after 2 or 3 tries.
I was worried he might dislike it, but now I'm glad I kept at it.
My son, probably due to his mother's influence, was especially shy around women. He must have felt betrayed. But Emily managed to win his trust, which is why my parents also trust her.
They seem to like her a lot.
Yes, unlike your parents, who hated me.
Really?
Yeah, at first, they called me a pushy woman who walks ahead of her husband. Later, they said I was useless for not giving them a grandchild.
Do people really say such things? That's incredibly rude.
James looked at me with genuine confusion. Mike's face turned slightly red. I wondered if he was actually feeling embarrassed. They really said those things, so I'm very happy to have a good relationship with James's parents. I enjoy chatting with your mother, and I share a love of good drinks with your father.
I was surprised to see you 3 having a party without me.
We decided to enjoy some good drinks while you were away. James and I smiled at each other, and Mike fell silent. I added, Mike, you said I was deceiving James, but I've told him and his parents about my difficulty in having children.
I was the one who told my parents. They didn't seem to mind at all and just said, "Oh, it doesn't matter."
There's no way everything's that convenient.
It was satisfying to see Mike looking frustrated. But it is. They even said they'd be thrilled to have someone like me as their daughter-in-law.
I'm lucky to have met Emily. My parents and my son adore her, and she's kind, cheerful, and responsible. Thank you, Mike.
James expressed his gratitude to Mike. His posture perfect.
Thank you? For what?
For divorcing Emily, of course.
What?
If you hadn't divorced her, I wouldn't have been able to marry her. I'm grateful you didn't appreciate her and had an affair.
James, are you mocking me?
No, I'm sincerely grateful.
Mike couldn't find a way to respond to James's clear and genuine expression. James stood up straight and said firmly,
Do you understand now? Everyone supports my marriage to Emily.
In my mind, you were supposed to be unhappy after the divorce.
It's not fair to assume that. It's been 2 years. It's normal for things to change. You wanted to feel superior because your life isn't going well, right? Mike stared at the asphalt, clearly unsatisfied. Just then, a ringtone broke the silence.
It's me.
Mike answered his phone, which he had been using to show us family pictures, and started talking to someone. The area was quiet, so we could hear the other person's voice, likely at maximum volume.
Hello.
Finally, sign the divorce papers already.
I recognized the voice. Divorce papers, which means it was Linda sounding angry.
I told you, I'm not getting a divorce. Let's talk this out.
Why would I stay with a cheater?
You cheated on your husband to marry me. So what are you talking about?
I can't listen to this.
James muttered, making me laugh.
How will you manage without me? Raising a kid is expensive.
My previous job rehired me as a full-time employee. They even give bonuses. Plus, I know everything.
What do you know?
I know you got laid off.
What?
Wow.
How did you find out? I haven't told anyone yet.
You don't realize how small this community is. News like that spreads fast.
Mike, you got laid off from the company you were promoted at.
Shut up.
Don't tell me to shut up. Maybe you should be the one keeping quiet.
No, that's not what I meant.
No excuses. You're going to pay alimony and child support.
Alimony too?
Of course, I've already filed a claim against the other woman as well.
You found out her contact information?
That's what private investigators are for.
Mike's hand holding the phone trembled. Was he more afraid of the divorce or the money he'd have to pay?
Please. I got fired from my job. I can't afford to pay both alimony and child support.
I don't care. Pay up.
I'm begging you.
Mike pleaded repeatedly to the person on the other end of the call, like a bird pecking.
He looks like a bobblehead.
True, that fits too.
Anyway, I'll have the lawyer send the papers again. Make sure you sign them this time.
Wait, please.
The call ended abruptly with a harsh tone. Mike's hand dropped, all energy drained from him.
See? Marrying a younger woman doesn't guarantee happiness.
James ended the conversation neatly, and Mike slowly looked up. But he said nothing. You should be grateful I didn't ask for alimony. When I said this, Mike finally spoke.
Getting cheated on and losing my family because I cheated. It's a fitting punishment.
He laughed weakly, self-deprecating.
Are we done here? We're leaving now.
James put his arm around my shoulder and started to walk away.
Where are you going?
What did he want by stopping us? There was nothing left to discuss.
We're going to our favorite French boutique
French boutique?
to get a dress made for Emily to wear at the store.
We're getting married soon, so I'll be introduced at the store. We're going together to choose the formal dress.
If she's going to be out front as the young proprietress, it has to be the right one. Though I think Emily would look good in any dress.
Hey, pick seriously.
But I really think you'd look great in any of them. A day won't be enough to choose.
That's an exaggeration.
I'm being serious.
When I glanced at Mike, his mouth was hanging open in shock.
Come on, let's go. We don't want to be late for our appointment.
You're right. Goodbye, Mike. Take care. Leaving Mike standing there, James and I walked away arm in arm. Later, James told me that Mike and Linda's divorce was finalized.
I explained everything to her. She agreed to work at a branch away from the main store.
Thank you. Even though I said I didn't mind, working at the same place would be awkward.
She didn't put up a fight. She even thanked us for keeping her on when we could have fired her.
I wouldn't be so heartless as to fire a single mother with a child.
That's one of the many reasons I love you, Emily.
Thanks. I had moved into the James's family home and was living there before we officially got married. I got along well with the store employees and the people from the main office, and there were no issues so far. James's mother was teaching me the duties of a young proprietress every day. With the store's long history, there was a lot to learn about the preferences of local VIPs and the etiquette at luncheon meetings. It was overwhelming but fulfilling.
You're a quick learner, Emily. I struggled so much and got scolded by my mother-in-law all the time.
James's mother's hearty laughter was a big help to me. It's almost too comfortable here.
I'm glad to hear that.
James gently placed his hand on my head. His mature gestures always surprised me. On the day Linda was to be transferred, she came to see me.
I deeply apologize for what happened before, and thank you for your kindness in this matter.
Linda sincerely thanked me and spoke politely, a stark contrast to her attitude 2 years ago. I can't fully forgive what happened back then, but I'm very happy now, so I won't dwell on it. Let's work together to make the store better. When I extended my hand for a handshake, she took it with both hands, grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
With that, she moved to the other store. After things settled down, James and I had a small, quiet wedding and filed for a marriage certificate. Since it was a second marriage for both of us, the ceremony was simple but filled with happiness. And then I found out I was pregnant.
Really?
Yes, I went to the doctor today, so there's no doubt.
Yes. Yes.
James jumped up and down, shouting with joy, which brought his parents and son rushing over to see what was happening. His parents took my hands, crying with happiness. Then his son tugged at my clothes, looking at me curiously.
Mom,
What is it?
am I going to have a little brother?
It could be a brother or a sister.
Either is fine. Am I going to be a big brother?
Yes, you are. I patted his head.
I'm so happy. I'll help you, Mom.
That's my boy.
As I rubbed my belly, I felt immense joy for the new addition to our family and looked forward to the lively days ahead